Going on, YouTube family? Welcome back to the Hike to Change channel. I know I said I wasn't gonna make a video for a while, but you know what? I'm in quarantine, so what the hell else I gotta do? And some people hit me up on the side. They were really interested in some of the Cpap gear and some of the electronics I was doing on trail. So I decided to make a video about the Cpap equipment. Some people, when you have sleep apnea, it's kind of tough to get out on trail, and even camping out, like, what do you do? How do you make sure you can use your therapy and, basically breathe at night? So I decided to put together a little video to kind of go over the equipment I took out with me, and so you can see what I had. And it worked very well on trail. I mean, I could get 6 days of therapy out of the batteries and the equipment I had before I headed to town, and 6 days is a good amount of time. Even if I was on trail for a 7th day, I could suffer through one night without using it. But I didn't want to go through the whole trail without using it because it's a progressive thing. So the more you don't use it, the more you do damage to your body, the more you're susceptible to things like heart attack and stroke and things like that. So skipping a night here and there because it was 7 days to get into town as opposed to 6, I'm okay with that. But to not taking it with me and not using it at all could have really affected my health. So I put together the lightest weight possible system that I could find to be able to use my Cpap therapy. And I'm going to go over all that with you now. So the first thing is obviously the device itself, which I use the Resmed Air Mini portable Cpap machine. It's pretty lightweight. It weighs 10.9 ounces. There is also a power plug that goes along with it. Now, I probably could have left the power plug at home, but I did take it with me for the one simple reason is when I get to a hotel or whatever, I wanted to be able to charge my batteries full, and when I wake up in the morning, I didn't want to have to wait another couple hours for the battery I use that night to charge up. So I could plug this into the wall, run my Cpap while my batteries were charging, and that way when it's time to get up, I can pack up, get out of Dodge, get back on trail. So I did carry this with me, but that would be like an optional. That was more for convenience for me. I don't have a weight on this because it wasn't listed anywhere, and I just don't have a scale here. My scale's packed away in storage right now, so I don't have the ability to weigh it, but I did carry it with me. Now the Resmed Air Mini is pretty nice. It's very lightweight. It does have a power on off button right here, and it does sync up to your phone via Bluetooth. So you can actually run it through your Bluetooth, or you can use the power on button. The one thing I don't like about Resmed, now my home unit that I use normally is a Resmed machine, and I love it. It's a great machine. This is a great machine. But they're kind of like Apple, where they try to do everything as, they make everything just for themselves. So it's harder, like you can't just put compatibility parts together. Like they want you to use their masks, their filters, their everything. So on this Resmed, if you look inside where the tubing goes, you'll see there's these two little plastic pieces that stick down right there. And what that does is it makes it only compatible with their masks. Unless, like me, you go out and you buy, just attach it, this little adapter piece. This little portable, it's just called a portable Air Mini universal connector. I mean, it's very generic. I don't even know what company makes this. It weighs 0.64 ounces, so it weighs nothing. But having this allows me to hook up any tube I want, which means I can hook up any mask I want. Because what Resmed does is they make their connectors smaller and more, they're not universal. So you're pretty much stuck using their masks and their tubes. And I don't like their masks. Well, at least not the ones I've tried so far. I use a Dreamwear mask. We'll get into that in a minute, but I use a different mask. So I needed to have a connector piece to be able to switch this in and out. Now there's other portable Cpap machines out there that are universal, but they weigh more. Then I want to go as lightweight as possible. So that's why I went with the Resmed Air Mini, and I've used Resmed and their quality. They work well. I've never had a problem with my Cpap, and I wanted to go with a company I trust. Plus I'm pretty brand loyal. So that's the base unit itself. And again, the power supply to come with it. Again, you don't have to carry that with you, but I did it for a matter of convenience. Now, since I have that adapter, I went out and just bought the cheapest, lightest connector hose I could find. This was just one I got off of Amazon. It weighs 0.99 ounces, so it's just under 1 ounce. It's by a company called Resplabs. It's their blackout one. I tried a smaller, skinnier one that had this narrower tube channel, and the pressure felt off to me. So I just got a regular one because they don't weigh that much, even in the regular size. But this was it's cheaper. It's just more durable, and I could replace this at any time. It's not specific to the ResMed Air Mini. Thank God for that adapter. Let me tell you, that adapter made all the difference in the world. I use the Dreamwear nasal mask. So this is where your nose goes. It goes around. I didn't want to do it, but I guess I'll put it on. Right. Yes, everybody get your laughs in. So basically, sits on your face like this. You breathe through the nose piece here. There's these little comfort straps here so you don't get marks on your face. And then the tube connects up top here. And why I like this mask is because it's a swivel. So the tube can run up here, and you can spin and toss and turn in your sleep all night, and it just spins. So it doesn't interfere, it doesn't come loose. That's why I don't like the ResMed masks, because all the ResMed masks, their tubing comes up to the front. So when you move and shift around, it pulls and yanks on the mask, and it becomes dislodged, it comes off, and then you're not getting your therapy the way you're supposed to. So that is, oh, and the other thing I like about this too is that because the air comes in up here, the air goes down both these channels. So if I'm sleeping on one side and I'm compressing this, the air's still coming down this side and vice versa. So it's just a very universal, very comfortable mask to use. I love this thing. I will never use another mask. Once I tried this because I went through, I think like 6 different masks before I found this one. I will never use another type of mask unless somebody comes out with something very similar that's cheaper. But it's a Dreamwear mask. So being able to use this adapter with a general tube was what allowed me to use this specific mask. That's why I went that route. ResMed masks, like I said, they come out the front. Now, if you notice on this, there's no humidification chamber. So there's no humidification with this at all. So what ResMed does is they have it's like a rebreather system. It's a little disc that sits where the connector hose is, and when you exhale, that moisture gets fed in there, so when you breathe back in, you're breathing that moisture back in. I didn't like that concept. I had a feeling it's going to get stinky. It's probably going to smell like an old gym sock. Plus, it hangs right here, so when you're flipping around and moving around, it's just banging all over your face, and it's just going to wake you up all throughout the night. So when I got my Air Mini and I got the free mask that came with it, I threw the mask in the trash. I tried it one night, and I was like, yeah, this is garbage. I'm not doing that. And that's not against ResMed. They just got to work on that design a little bit. But that's the basics of the actual Cpap machine. Now, the fun part is, how do you take this out where there's no power? Batteries. And I'm not gonna lie, they're expensive as hell. So was the machine. The machine was like almost $900. And insurance does not cover this stuff. I mean, maybe your insurance does, but my insurance didn't. So I was down $900 for the machine. And then, so the ResMed machines are 24 volt. There are other machines that are 12 volt. And this company that I'm going to show you the battery for does 12 and 24 volts. So you have to make sure when you purchase, you're buying the correct one. And they usually have a listing in the ad to let you know if it's for the correct machine. So I used the Medistrom. Let me get this right. Medistrom new Pilot 24 Lite Cpap battery. Now, according to them, these weigh 1.3 pounds each. 1.3 pounds. So I had to get 3 of them. And I'll explain why in a minute. When I weighed them on my scale at home, one was 1.3 pounds, one was 1.4 pounds, and one was 1.5 pounds. So I thought that was a little funny. That was like literally off by just that one, each one. They do come in a nice little, pull this up here. They do come in a nice little sack. Now I did carry this with me on the trail just because it's a nice soft fabric, and I was afraid of cold. And I thought this might keep the batteries a little bit warmer, at least keep the frost off of it if it got that cold. There was one night that I slept with my batteries in my foot box and my sleeping pad to keep them warm because it got down to like 33-ish, and I was afraid I was going to lose the power in my batteries. They do say it can go lower in temperature without losing battery power, but I wasn't willing to risk it. Now, these do have a very nice display on them. So this is your on-off button. See here, this is where you plug it in to charge the battery. This is where you run the power from it to the machine. And if you push it on, it's kind of hard to see. So you see how those 3 lights just lit up? That's how much juice you have. And that blue light tells you that it's on. You hit it again, and it just went, I just turned it off, I'm sorry. So it's off right now. I hit it once, it lights up, tells me how much power, and now it's on. If I do that again, it lights up how many juice it has, and then turns the power off. So as long as that blue light's off, your power's off. And when you plug in your machine, it just automatically turns on. You don't actually have to hit the button. But this way you always know how much juice you have. And as you can see, I got 1, 2, 3 of these puppies at 1.3 pounds, 1.4 pounds, and 1.5 pounds. This is where I was saying the Cpap gear really added weight to my pack. These are great batteries. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. One of these batteries, now anybody who has a Cpap knows what I'm talking about with your air pressure. Some people go all the way up to 20, some people are at 15. I actually I'm averaging right now 9.8. It was either 9.8 or 9.9. I guess it's pounds per square inch of air pressure. So I'm under 10. These battery rings were designed at 10. So if your pressure is 10 or less, you can get 2 nights out of each one of these batteries and still have a little bit left over. And I believe, if I remember right, when I was doing the research, for every number that you go up, so if you're at 10 and you go to 11, you lose an hour out of each battery. No, you lose like 2 hours out of each battery. So if you, by the time you get to 15, you're basically getting 1 night out of 1 battery. So if you have extreme pressure, you might have to carry much more battery power than I did. The cool thing about the Resmed Air Mini, and which is also true about the regular machines, is that it's very easy to break into the clinician menu. I'm not going to show you how to do it on here because I don't want the liability issue with that, because if you do something stupid with your machine and something happens to you, I'm not taking any responsibility for that. But I was able to get into my clinician menu and set my max pressure to 10. So no matter what happened, my pressure did not exceed 10, so I would always get 2 nights out of this, because even if I had a little bit of like an hour where I was just having a little bit of problems, I needed 11 of pressure, I didn't care, because overall I was still getting healthy oxygen all night. And I never did. Like I said, I averaged 9.9. It never goes above 10. So that's something you have to consider when you're thinking about taking these out, is that you need to know what your pressure is, what your average pressure is, and you have to base that number on how much battery power you need. Now, because I'm at a 10, I get 2 nights and a little bit of charge, which is nice because it has a USB right here, so I could hook up another device, and that little extra charge, I could charge my headlamp or my Garmin InReach or something else if I need a little bit extra juice, and all 3 batteries have that. So if I'm out there for 6 days, I get all 6 days of coverage, and then I have a little bit of juice. I could probably charge like half of my Garmin. I could probably charge my headlamp fully, so I would get a little extra out of each one of these, which helps with my other devices. And then another thing you have to carry is the charger plug for the batteries, because once you get to the hotel, you got to plug it into the wall and recharge them. And this is how big this thing is. This weight, I think I have the battery charger. It weighs 15.2 ounces, so it's almost a pound by itself. So you're talking, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 3.8. So you're talking about 5 pounds just between the batteries and the charging port. So you have to carry this. I only carried 1 because these batteries take about 3 hours to charge, and I figured I could do that. I could do 2 before I go to sleep, charge 1 overnight while I'm sleeping if I have to, because they do turn off once they reach their max charge, and then it's good to go. So I did only carry 1 because I knew I'd be able to charge them all in one day. Just using the 1, I would just have to keep going back to the hotel in between errands just to make sure I switched them out. One of the last things you have to carry is the actual cord that goes from the battery to the machine. So this plugs into the battery, this goes in the machine, and that's what gives it its power. The last thing you have to consider is, how do you keep your Cpap clean out in the field? It's dirty out there. Like, it legitimately is. So I usually use a SoClean at home. I use the SoClean ozone sanitizer for my normal machine, which I'm obviously not taking with me on trail. It's a big bucket. If you've never seen it, it's like this big. Not going to go on trail, not going to run off a battery. So I did some more research, and I found this. Pull that in here so you can see it. This is the Moocoo. It's a Cpap ozone clear. This weighs 8 ounces. The way this works is, you see how there's a tube the tube ending right here. So you run the tube, you plug the tube in here, and you keep it plugged into your machine. And then you have to carry a bag. Now it does come with a bag, but it was a heavy bag, so I just took a big, giant, Smelly proof Ziploc bag that I had ordered for my food anyway. So I just took one and put it on the side. So you take the machine, you take your Cpap, this machine, you plug the tube into this. Let's show you how to disconnect it. So this is where the mask normally be. You take the mask out, plug it into the end here. You got your end unit that goes into the machine. Right? So you got all this connected. You stuff it in the bag. You just take your mask loose, throw it in the bag, seal the bag, press power, and it runs for 25 minutes. Within 25 minutes, your machine is sanitized. Now, if you've never used ozone cleaners before, there is a little bit of a smell to it. I like it. It smells clean to me. It smells fresh to me, so it doesn't bother me at all. I actually quite enjoy it. The night, so I wasn't going to do it every night. You only get to run that like maybe 3 times between charges. So I wasn't going to do it every night. I was going to do it like every other night. But the nights when I use it, that ozone smell knocks me right out. I go right to sleep, and I sleep great because it just smells almost hospital clean. Now the other cool reason why I got that is because it is USB rechargeable. So I can take any micro USB cable, plug it in here, plug it into a wall or a battery bank, charge this puppy right up. I probably wouldn't charge it off a battery bank because this does take a fair amount of juice. I would plug this in at the hotels and charge it at the hotel. But this system, the way I have it set up, I now have 6 nights of use, full 8 hours of sleep, plus a little extra juice left over to charge other things. I have a way to sanitize all my equipment. And the last thing I was doing was I had a little med box that I was shipping from post office. Well, I was going to ship from post office to post office. It wasn't that expensive. I think it was like going to be like $10. If you don't open the box, you can just bounce it forward and they don't charge you any extra money. But when you had to get in there, you would have to rebox it and ship it out. It'd be another $10. And in there, I would keep extra nasal because again, if you don't do Cpap, you don't know this part right here, the part that connects to your nose. These come off. And they're replaced. We should replace them every couple weeks or so. I usually get about 3 weeks out of them, 3 weeks to a month before they start getting a little funky. So I had a couple replacements in a box with that. I had some Cpap wipes in there. I carried some Cpap wipes on me just in case like I blew a little snot in the middle of the night. I could clean that out because the ozone will clean it, will disinfect it, but it won't clean out the residue. And then I had other things in that bounce box. So I had things like, antidiarrheal, ibuprofen, anything else I needed that I knew I was going to need down trail, that since I was already shipping a med supply box for my Cpap, it was just easier just to keep that stuff in there so I could just re-up on that stuff whenever I got to whatever town I shipped it to. So that's the other thing is, if you don't know anything about Cpap, you don't have sleep apnea, the ozone thing, just so you know, what that ozone does is it's basically like the ozone that's up in the upper atmosphere in the air. Do you ever, after a really, really, really strong rainstorm, thunderstorm, lightning storm, you get that fresh smell in the air? That's ozone. Things cannot live in ozone. Bacteria cannot live in ozone. Viruses cannot live in ozone. So when you use an ozone cleaner like that, it effectively kills 100% of the viruses and bacteria and all that kind of stuff. So it's as sanitary as you can possibly make it. Because if you don't clean your Cpap machine regularly and thoroughly, you will start getting upper respiratory infections and things of that nature. You'll get bacterial infections and things like that. So it's very important to keep your Cpap clean. So I hope that answers everybody's questions about how I was doing my Cpap, my sleep apnea therapy while I was on trail. It worked very well. I was able to sleep through the night. It worked all night. The batteries lasted the entire time. I hiked for 5 days. I had a half a battery left plus a little extra juice on the other 2, just like I anticipated I would. The batteries take about 3 hours to charge. Oh, and that was the other thing, pricing. You have to make sure this is something you want to do, even if you travel a lot for work or if you travel a lot for vacations. You don't necessarily need the batteries. You might just need the machines. If you're staying in hotels and things like that, you can just plug it into a wall. So like I said, just the initial investment to have a travel machine is about $800. The Moocoo was like 50 bucks. It was not that expensive. So you can have all that done for under $1,000, and anytime you go on vacation, anywhere you go, as long as you got a place to plug into an electrical outlet, you can have therapy. Where it gets even more expensive is the batteries. The batteries are $330 a piece. So between all in, I spent about $2,000 to make sure I can have my sleep apnea therapy running the entire time I was on trail. So it's not something that everybody can do. It's just a decision you have to make. Are you going to be somebody who's going to be going out on trail and you're going to need batteries and you're going to want to be out there for a week or two at a time? Then you're going to need to put the investment out there. If you're just somebody who travels from hotel to hotel to hotel, you can get away with half the price at about $1,000. If you're staying in hotels, you can honestly travel with your full Cpap and not spend any money, and that's fine too. The other thing I want to mention is the batteries and the machine and the Moocoo were all FAA compliant, so I was able to carry them onto the airplane. I didn't have to check them. I carried them right onto the plane, went right through TSA security, no issues. So that's going to wrap this up. Hopefully I've answered any questions you have. If you had any other ideas about how to make this lighter or more cost effective, please feel free to leave comments below. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to everybody soon. Take it easy.